everybody, what is scene? Wagwan, what's up with the vibes? How are you doing? Welcome to Global Sports Caribbean Perspective. Now, a lot of people grew up watching sports, following sports, loving sports. And if you're like those people, then you're just like us. I am your host, Utamu Rose. With me, I have Kenton Duncan, Jadiel Dopwell, three guys who are passionate about sports, who play sports, who love sports, and we've decided to go on this journey talking about sports, following sports, and spreading the good vibes, good vibration with you. This is Global Sports from a Caribbean perspective. Now, this is the ultimate thing. This is the ultimate place for all things sports. We're going to be talking football. We're going to be talking cricket, NBA. We're going to be involved in all of the major sports, but also talking about local sports as well. What's going on the local scene? What's going on the regional scene? So if you're like us, you're obsessed with the Champions League, you're obsessed with football, or you're obsessed with the NBA, you're obsessed with F1, then this is the place for you. Talking about global sports from a Caribbean perspective. Now today I have with me my two co-hosts, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves on my right and on my left right here.
All right. What's up, everyone? My name is Kenton. For the sake of the podcast, you can call me Shaba. All right. This is the first of many episodes on Global Sports Caribbean Perspective. And throughout this journey, you'll hear my different opinion and perspectives on all sports topics, whether or not I am biased or not.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah, Wagwan, everybody. Jadiel Dopwell. A lot of people call me Doppy or Dops. Ala Madrid right through. West Indies fan, die hard, win or lose, we rallying. And, I just here to fully talk sports. It's about time we bring the afternoon talks after the sweat and so to the table. And, to hear our views and, to see what people listening think as well.
All right, and that's it. We're going to give you a perspective on sports that is real, that is authentic, that is true to the nature. I mean, three sports fans walk into a bar is probably because their favorite team was playing. And that's why three fans have come together here now to talk about this. Once a week, we're going to be diving into the happenings in and around the world of sports, what's new, what's the latest, what is going on. But we're also going to be reflecting, what's happened in the past and how we can chart the way forward, how we can involve and get interactive on this platform using all of these new mediums that we can to connect, to bring people together for the love of sports and for the beautiful games that we do love and we do enjoy. So this week, to start it off, a pilot, we have a great episode in store for you. We're going to be talking, of course, about recently concluded events. A lot of action in the world of sports. We know that a lot of the sports that we follow right now are on the downtime, they're gearing up for the seasons to come. So there's a lot of action that we want to get into, particularly in the top European 5 leagues. I think we can start there for sure. But we'll also do a preview looking at things to come, things that are coming up. And, we'll get into some hot takes, some opinions, and some fun stuff a little bit later on. So, which country you want to fly to first?
I think we should start in England.
England.
That's most, familiar for everyone.
Yes, that's true. Let me see. Now, we want to be accurate to this. So, we're going to be pulling up our stats. I'll be functioning as the stats man today. So, we're starting with the Premier League.
Start with Premier League.
Shall we? Okay. Liverpool clinched the 2024-2025 Premier League under Arne Slot, earning their 20th title, tying Manchester United for most English Premier Leagues. What do we say?
It was a very impressive title by Liverpool. I don't think they would have been anyone's favourites at the start of the season. Most persons would have thought that, Man City would have went on to win again. But they started well, and credit to Arne Slot, who had to come in and take over from Jurgen Klopp. Mm-hmm. So he did a very good job, especially with the help of Mohamed Salah, who had a record-breaking season. So very much credit to Liverpool and Slot especially.
Yes, a lot of credit goes to Slot, being a new coach coming into a new environment, a new league, new players, and a huge legacy. Huge boots to fill, a lot of people would say. I mean, as you could see, being a Barcelona fan, I could tell you what Klopp's Liverpool was like. So,
for sure,
to come in with a club that seems to have had a clear development direction in terms of the type of football they want to play, what they represent. Liverpool has a rich a very rich footballing culture. We saw that he had a lot of pressure on him, and you clearly said, I guess he could bank on Liverpool's star player. That star man, a lot of people, you clearly said, record breaking season. A lot of people would argue a Balon d'Or winning season from Mohamed Salah. What say you, Dappy?
Yeah, a lot of credit to Mohamed Salah, but just the team in general was a well-oiled machine. Slot came in and he got basically Jurgen Klopp's team. He only made probably 1 or 2 transfers, so it was really a team set in stone already. He just had to make a few adjustments here and there, put his philosophy, his style on the game, and it was kind of amazing to see him hit the ground running. And by probably January, February, they basically had the league wrapped up. So yeah, Mohamed Salah, but the guys like McAllister and Szoboszlai and those guys, Virgil van Dijk is ever present. So it's kudos to Mohamed Salah, but for Arne Slot to come in his 4th season and get all those guys together and say get the team by the scruff of the neck and say let's put together something memorable. And so they did.
Credit to Ryan Gravenberch as well, who was struggling under Jurgen Klopp and came in and played in a pivot position, which is somewhat unfamiliar to him, and he completely transformed the way that Liverpool were playing basically, because they didn't have a pivot since Fabinho, digressed. So credit to Gravenberch, especially. He was a very important member of the squad and a very important reason as to why they won the title.
Very outstanding player, unsung hero, really.
So I'm hearing a lot of talk about the team and the strength in the different players and so on. But let me be devil's advocate. So would you agree that it's a Balon d'Or winning season from Salah, regardless of the strength of the unit that Slot put together?
I would say so. I mean, the numbers are there. 30 plus goals, probably about 15 assists. It's very rare. Don't think you could take a number from anybody else and match it up against Salah and they beat him in terms of total. So I believe he deserves it, but you know how it goes if you don't win the Champions League. Champions League is almost like the holy grail and the crowning and the crowning joy. So if you don't win the Champions League, like your chances of winning the Balon d'Or drop significantly.
Definitely. So a lot of teams will say sometimes perform well domestically, but we know that biggest trophy is the one that we really would like to win to stamp that statement to say, well, we've been the best, not just in our domestic league, but across Europe as well.
For sure.
Would you say that not winning the Champions League or not going as far as some other teams might have progressed in the Champions League is a blemish on an otherwise stellar season for Slot?
For Salah or for Slot?
Well, his team in general,
Okay.
the entire unit of Liverpool.
Okay, well, I would say that in relation to Liverpool and Slot, they had started the Premier League season on fire, right? So they jumped out to this big lead. And as a result, they did not rest players in and around the time when I could specifically remember that they had a fixture against Southampton, who is a relegation threatened team, before the second leg against PSG. And they chose to play their full 11 in that game, like 2 days before the second leg against PSG, and it cost them. So I think that their emphasis on the Premier League cost them in the end in the Champions League. And as a result, also Salah also started the season hot and then tailored off. So that would definitely hurt his Ballon d'Or chances, in my opinion, despite his numbers being very, outstanding. He tailored off in the second half of the season, especially. I could tell you this because he was in my fantasy Premier League team for the entire second half of the season, and he was letting me down. Okay. So he definitely tailored off in the second half, and as a result of that, I think it would knock him down the Ballon d'Or rankings. Kind of unfair because he has the numbers to back it up and he has silverware, but I would say that we go with the most recent thing that we see, and Dembele is probably the leading candidate for that right now.
All right, well, we'll get to Dembele and his team and their accomplishments over in France soon. Speaking about tailoring off, Arsenal placed second, finishing runners-up again, often really and truly ending up losing from winning positions. Would you say it's a failure of a season for Arteta and his men?
Yes, I would say it was a failure. They have been going through this cycle. Every year is literally the same thing. they build up their fans, play beautiful football because Arsenal play some of the best football in the country. And then there would be a point where they just hit this bad run. And I think it could be squad depth. They depend highly on Saka,
especially.
the Odegaard. So when those guys get
Starters.
injured, then they have no one really to rely on. So that is something they need to work on. But to answer your question, yes, it was a
And I could jump in right there in relation to the squad depth issue because Saka picked up a significant injury around March.
Right in the crucial
Right
part.
in the crucial running stage of the
Decision
season. And I think that hampered them a lot because they lacked a lot of firepower down the late stretch. And I'm assuming that's one of the reasons they bought Nani Madueke from Chelsea as well, just to be Saka's insurance policy in case he goes down again. So the point that Bappy made about squad depth is very important in that. And I would also agree that the season was a failure.
Well, we see squad depth affecting a lot of teams across the top 5 leagues now, particularly as it relates to the schedule. We know that right now. I mean, players, managers, coaches. I think even agents at this point are criticizing the schedule, but it doesn't seem to be slowing down. We're actually seeing more competitions added, more games added. More friendlies.
All in
and
the
so-
sake of money, obviously.
Correct.
So, would you agree that it is now favouring the bigger clubs, those who can make the necessary moves in the transfer market to deepen their squads and to actually have players available? Right now, the top players aren't really lining up to be sitting on the bench. So what do we see as the future? Just to segue a little bit, what do we think is the future for football given this current climate? What's the direction we're heading in?
It goes back to the conversation that we were having off camera before we began recording about Rodrigo and his future at Madrid. Going forward, more games will be added to the schedule, and as a result of that, squads would have to be bigger, right? So, whereas a team would have a 25-man squad now with 3 goalkeepers and 22 outfield players, there might have to be an increase in the amount of players in the squad, maybe to, let's say, 30, where the teams would get more players for moments of like injuries and whatever the case may be. So I think that in the future, let's say maybe 5 years from now, seeing us how they increase the substitutions from 3 to 5 recently, that's something that they could also look to increase in the future as well, increasing the squads from like 25 to, let's say, 30. That would help mitigate some of those factors where players get injured and suspensions and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, because what we're seeing now is that the injuries, particularly when some of these injuries are coming, I mean, you want to see the best players and the best teams at the crucial times of the season, displaying their talent and showcasing. That's what sport is all about. But right now we are seeing a lot of players, going down right before they get to really prove themselves and crown off their seasons. And is it then fair for us to, sit and analyze their performances, given that they haven't really gotten to the opportunity to showcase what they want to do in full? What do you think we can do to address the fixture concerns?
It's really hard to say, honestly speaking.
It's most definitely a FIFA thing, and it all comes down to money at the end of the day. Let's be real here. It all comes down to money and the amount of revenue that is being produced by these teams meeting each other. Just take a look at the Club World Cup, for example. We all know that competition is a sham, basically. Yeah. It's a sham, right? It came at the end of the season, a long season where players even got to the Champions League final, like for example, PSG got to the Champions League final and then had to play straight into that competition and got all the way to the Club World Cup final as well. So the competitions and the games need to be decreased because the players aren't robots. Let's be real. Although we love the entertainment, we love to see big teams playing each other. The amount of games that the players are having to play is just too much. It's just too much. We have to reduce some of the competitions that are basically pointless because you can't have players coming off a 8-month, 9-month season to then go play another tournament at the end of the season and then have a 2-week vacation and then come back in the middle of August into the new season again. So we definitely need to do something about the amount of games.
Yeah, because not to cut you off, I was wondering, I asked what's this question this morning, like, I know Madrid not participating in any preseason tournament or fixtures. I was wondering if any of the teams who had participated in the
Club World Cup.
Cup.
No, I haven't seen Chelsea or PSG or any of those Bayern, any of those big teams play any preseason games since I only saw Madrid schedule a preseason game today.
But is the
For the
preseason
12th of
not
August.
a bigger benefit to the teams than the postseason tournaments? I mean, I know you can make a lot of money in the postseason tournaments, obviously, especially because of where these tournaments are being held.
True.
It's often places that don't get to see these different sports
True.
teams play these competitions. So it's sort of, in a way, the argument is they're being ambassadors for the sport and they're taking sports to, to different frontiers and so on and bringing it to more fans, building the fan base, because that's what we really want to do,
That's
to
true.
make sports a global thing. But I think that the preseason tournaments and the preseason competitions is actually a lot more beneficial to the sport than the postseason competition. So is there a way for us to possibly make these preseason competitions? I mean, I know sometimes we say, them trophies don't matter, nobody cares about those preseason tournaments, but can we shift the interest now from postseason tournaments to preseason tournaments and give them a bit of prestige to say, okay, well, at the start we're going to do this versus at the end?
That's tricky because most coaches would use preseason as a tester for the new season and wouldn't necessarily, let's say, display all of the tricks or save stuff up the sleeve for the new season. Use young players, use academy players. I don't think it would ever become a stage where coaches and teams would take preseason that seriously, regardless of how prestigious the competition may be in name or by prize money. So I think preseason should be its purpose
Its own
for
self-contained thing.
for practice and for getting new
Familiarization.
strategies and that kind of thing. But to turn it into a prestigious tournament, no, we shouldn't do that for preseason for sure.
All right, great. Well, we veered off a bit, but interesting discussions
Nonetheless.
nonetheless. To get things back on track with the season review, let's start City. Manchester City had a let's say, some would say, a turbulent season.
Very much
A season that a lot of people probably expected from the defending champions at that. But let's look to the future. You think the ball genius has it within him to bounce right back after that blemish of a season?
I think he does. I mean, it's Pep after all, and he does have back Rodri at his disposal. I just think that he overcooks it a bit, like goes overboard with the tactics, and because if you sit and watch a Man City game, you would yell at the TV wondering, and this is if you haven't Haaland in your field, you would sit and wonder why the hell are they not getting the ball to the most dangerous man on the planet?
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
So it's always like this elaborate play, pass.
Yeah, it feels like a merry-go-round watching them.
Get them out, pull them out, and then look for the space. But then I think that you're not playing to the strengths of the best player on your team. So I think he needs to tweak it a bit more, where he, get back to the season before where Haaland was like a robot and
Most
anything
definitely.
he touched turns to goal. And then just tweak it defensively, because I think they have been found out.
A bit,
Like teams,
especially in transition.
yeah, teams know how to set up for them. They go a bit too high, and then because they lacked Rodri last season, they didn't have that security with the ball. So, as I said, hopefully Rodri, puts them back on course. I feel they will do a little bit better. If not by winning the league, just by points total and just the overall look of Manchester City.
How it looks.
Back to normal.
Okay. Perhaps they might be active in the transfer market. A club in England that certainly is active in the transfer market is Chelsea. Chelsea have returned to the Champions League and they've secured, that Europa Conference League trophy. What are the odds we see Chelsea returning to, punching in and around the European giants, European heavyweights again? Not to say that they're not currently giants, but returning to the very top of the pinnacle.
For Chelsea, I think we saw it in the Club World Cup that they have a bright future. They have a lot of young players, a very young core with players from all over the world. But Enzo Maresca came in last season and did a very good job meshing a very big squad together, because Chelsea have a
Huge
lot of
squad.
players. Chelsea have a lot of players. So as we saw in the Club World Cup, I think they're moving in a good direction. In terms of challenging for the Premier League and the Champions League, maybe not yet, because I would say that the same Man City we mentioned, Liverpool and Arsenal, are just ahead of them in their development and their rebuilding. So I would think that it would take some time for Chelsea to become Premier League contenders necessarily, as well as European contenders for the Champions League. But they will be a major player this season. Cole Palmer is one of the best players in the world. Let's be fair. Definitely. Let's be fair about that. So he will have an impact. This is his first time going to be playing in the Champions League for Chelsea. So I know he would want to make his name. But in terms of Chelsea on a whole, I think they are on a good path, but they're not necessarily top tier contenders for the Champions League or Premier League just yet.
Just yet. Okay.
This one is from my partner Dapper. Jackson. Chelsea goes as far as Jackson carries them. Jackson is one of the worst finishers. Jackson does everything else right. Every single thing right. Except putting the ball in the back of the net. He would hold it up, lay it up, bring all his other players, teammates into the play. But to put this ball and make it hit the nylon.
Okay, so what about João Pedro? You don't think João Pedro would be
I'm not quite sure if João Pedro is coming to play the number 9 role. I believe that he might be in the 10 or sometimes on the left-hand flank, but to play as the number 9, I believe that would be left up.
I agree. But in the Club World Cup, he did show most of his minutes were in the number 9 position, and he did play very well, scored goals. But I do agree his best position is behind and not the actual 9. So it would left to be seen.
Yeah, it looks like, from what I saw, it looks like him in the 10 and Cole Palmer playing off the right-hand flank would be really dangerous.
Correct.
Back to again, a bit more freedom and less of, defensive.
Exactly. And they do have Liam Delap as well.
Who I believe Dapper is a much better finisher than Nicholas Jackson. So that's your 9, bro. And that's as I say, once the ball hits the back of the net, it should be good for Chelsea because they were only behind Arsenal and City in terms of goals conceded last season. So, they have a very good platform in terms of, solidity in defense. And, it's just the attacking side of things need to get
for sure. Shout out to Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo, who are excellent players also.
Very, very, very good players. Yep.
Enzo real bad. Yeah. All right. Well, quick shout out before we wrap up the Premier League. Newcastle. 70 long years. And it's over.
They got a trophy.
Yeah, man. And it's as football fans, particularly fans of, what would be considered bigger clubs, it's always good to see fans of, clubs, man. Lifelong fans and so on, celebrated. It shows you what it means. It shows you, what the beautiful game is all about. What we're really here for supporting and celebrating with our favorite team. Regardless of the sport, I think everyone can identify with,
for sure.
A club winning something for their fans and what it means for the people that live in that place and so on. So shout out Newcastle, big up all the Newcastle
and
fans.
Crystal Palace.
Shout out to Crystal Palace as well.
Big up Crystal Palace as well. And before we head out of the Premier League, it would be remiss of me not to give a nice salute to my Manchester United fans. We'll take good care of Marcus over at the Camp Nou.
It is absolutely insane that Spurs and United, don't forget. You guys only finish about Southampton, Ipswich and Leicester. It's crazy stuff. Yeah, you won the Conference League,
the Europa League.
Not to beat up on
the Europa League, sorry. But, it's crazy stuff like you.
I don't want to kick a man while he's down.
At the start of the season, no one saw anything close to that coming, much less, Liverpool in the league is one thing, all right, fine.
Yeah.
But Spurs only beating Ipswich, Leicester and Southampton.
Yeah, that was shocking.
And
that was shocking.
You had to lose your job, bro. I mean, the European Championship was okay, but you had to lose your job.
All right, let's take a trip over to Germany before we head to Spain. I feel like we'll spend some time talking about the Liga, obviously, as Spanish football fans. Business as usual.
Well, after they took a year off.
Yeah, they took a little year off, a little vacation. Let Xabi Alonso do his thing.
For sure.
Frimpong and those guys over there. Market yourselves and get big signings.
For sure.
Go to, other clubs and so on. But
exactly.
We are back. The big boys are back in town and all of that nonsense is over. We have one of the deadliest strikers in the world of football. and
Harry
we can
Kane.
sign him, and he will come, and he will finally
Deliver us
get
to
get
glory.
get some silverware,
Right.
ending that drought and taking the name out of people's mouth.
Yes, yes,
all it does disrespect Harry
Yeah,
Kane.
it wasn't cool
All
to
it does
see.
disrespect
It
Harry
wasn't
Kane.
cool.
It's
Put some
ain't
respect
nice.
on Harry
Put
Kane's
some
name.
respect on Harry Kane's name. Harry, big up yourself.
We have
right?
your back. We have your back
Yeah,
here.
we got your back, bro. We got your back. You win something. Take your name out of people's mouth. But on a more serious note, the machinery that is Bayern Munich. What do we think in terms of on the European stage next week? Definitely they have to be looking now, setting their sights on the Champions League, setting
For
their
sure.
sights on competing in a bigger way in Europe. I mean, they had a decent showing, and it's not to say that they didn't make it, deep into the competition, but I would say for a club like Bayern Munich, the Bundesliga certainly can't be enough. Because
For sure.
they've proven that they can win it.
For sure.
Back to back. However, I think it was an 11 winning
yeah.
streak that they had, and they're back to winning ways already, just 1 year off of it. So what do we think, Bayern? What are the movements like?
For sure, Bayern's success is never predicated on winning the Bundesliga.
Sure.
We all know that. Bayern's success is measured by how they do in Europe and compete against the bigger European clubs like Real Madrid, Barcelona, and the English teams. So I would say that they have a significant injury right now with Jamal Musiala being out. So that would definitely hamper their chances of doing well. They just bought Luis Diaz from Liverpool, who I think would do a okay job. I mean,
big signing.
he's probably in the prime of his career right now, 28, 27, 28, 29 years old, about that. And I think he would do a good job over there. But he isn't necessarily a ceiling raiser, I would say. He isn't gonna elevate them to where they weren't last year. I would say that he'd maintain the level that they have, because they do have a lot of deficiencies, I would say, especially in defense, where Dayot Upamecano is probably the only capable defender, let's be real. Kim with a big reputation from Napoli, but
Who the hell is
he hasn't lived up to the expectations for sure. Alphonso Davies is also out on a long-term injury. So their defense is a bit threadbare, and also Manuel Neuer is getting older, so they can't necessarily depend on him as they could have before. And the midfield is also thin. So that all of that plus Musiala being out, I don't think their chances of European glory has gone up this season for sure.
Not even with the purchase of Diaz?
No,
You
not
don't
even
see him leading the line?
not even with the poor purchase of Diaz, because I don't think their problem would be firepower or goal scoring. I think their problem would come in transition and defending and that kind of thing.
What
Yeah,
about
cause-
with Ten Hag going to Leverkusen? Do you see him being able to mount the same challenge to Bayern? I'm being serious. You see him mounting the same challenge to Bayern that Xabi Alonso was able to do?
I let that be that.
I mean, if we're going after the reputation from Ajax, then we have to be fair to him.
He should be able to
should
build a
be
team
able.
and put it together.
Facts. And Man United is kind of course at the moment. They might actually take Sir Alex Ferguson to come out of retirement and tell them on to lift
Not Sir
the
Alex.
trophy again. But being serious, yeah, man, I believe he had the tactical wits about him to put out a good team, especially if they could bring in a few players replacing the Frimpongs of the wall and the Warts of the wall. I mean, Warts would be a lot harder to replace than Frimpong. But just to get someone not within the same range but better than average, I believe that he not win the league but qualify for Champions League.
Just quickly on Ten Hag and Leverkusen. So in relation to Ten Hag and Leverkusen, I think that similar to the point you made where you said Slot took over Klopp's squad. Ten Hag is taking over basically the same squad except for the three guys who left from Xabi Alonso. So it's up to him now to just come and not necessarily reinvent the wheel per se, but just to apply his methods and tactics to a squad that already knows what they're doing. Oh, they also lost Granit Xhaka, so they lost some big cogs, but I think that Ten Hag is a competent enough coach to come in and put them together. However, I don't think they would challenge Bayern in the end. I also think that Dortmund would be probably a better challenger than Leverkusen for the Bundesliga this year.
So if not Borussia, then business as usual in the Bundesliga?
Yes, I think we could move
we
on.
could try and bridge the gap and fly from Germany to Spain. Alphonso Davies was rumored to be heading to the Spanish capital. But I
Really?
guess with the injury that he sustained, those plans are off. What's it? I see it that the strategy in Madrid, it seems to be, to allow the best players in the world to
Join on a free.
drag on their contracts, transfer on a free, which is great business. I mean, a great example of
Fantastic
great
business.
transport business. I think Juventus in years past had
For
similar
sure.
policies and had,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
set
that
them
type
up.
of savvy transfer policy. So we see that being a possibility, but I see that, you've gone, well, not in another direction, but just signed a different fullback. So is that plan off or it's not? What do you think, Bayern?
Well, Alphonse Davies has his quality and, Obama going forward, that attacking flair and so forth. I think Carreras complements Trent quite well in terms of him being able to actually defend. And, just to, if Trent goes high, he would be the guy, to set back and stay with the defensive lines. From what I read and saw from him, it seems like he tends to win a lot of balls going into the back post. So those crosses that, catch and Fran Garcia out and, the likes of Fall and Mendy sleeping, he would be more alert in getting to it. And then he's also a great line breaker in terms of running with the ball, progressive carries and progressive passes. So while he won't be whipping them into the box, he will be breaking down the lines of other teams, in a different way.
Just in terms of the free transfer strategy that you mentioned, where Alphonso Davies is concerned, I would say that Madrid is trying to be very frugal with their spending based on the works that they did on the Bernabeu over the last few years. They made a significant investment in the stadium, so as a result, I don't think maybe both aren't necessarily completely related, but they obviously have something to do with each other in terms of the amount of money that is available to spend on transfers. So I would say that the strategy that is currently being employed is it's proved to be very successful because the free transfers who've came in over the last few years, like Alaba and the likes Rudiger, they've done very well. So even though we've missed out on Alphonso Davies, as Lapi said, Carreras looks to be a very good prospect. He also has Madrid in his blood. He was a U-team player, and we know he'll give his all for the team. So it's interesting to see how he'll fit in because he's very tall, physical, fullback. So he'll definitely help us in the aerial area, and I think he would be a good signing nonetheless.
Okay. Before we move out of Germany, I have a personal message to Bayern. Manuel Neuer is not getting any younger. And if you are in the market for a tall German goalkeeper
At a cut price.
Discounted rate, then boy, oh
Just
boy,
again.
do Barcelona have the player for you. Give us a call.
Don't fall for it, man. Don't fall for it, man. That's Barca's captain.
Give us a call. Let's do some business. I know that is my captain, but some crazy reports coming out of Spain. Let's take the trip and dive right into Spain. Last year we playing hot potato with the La Liga trophy. See, you drop it, I drop it. What's going on?
Well, that was a very interesting title race, to say the least.
Barcelona surged ahead in the La Liga title race, driven by new coach Hansi Flick, breakout star Lamine Yamal, top performances from Rafinha and Lewandowski as they close the season ahead of Real Madrid in domestic trophies. What say you in terms of the season just gone? Obviously, we're talking with our biases.
Okay.
Laid bare. Let's just let them on the table. Barcelona fan in the middle, flanked by two Real Madrid supporters. So let's just get the elephant, address the elephant in the room one time.
I'll preface my statements by stating that I'll be very unbiased with my opinions here and speak as a neutral fan. However, my allegiances lie solely and only with. Okay, so
in the Spanish capital.
Right. However, the season that has just passed was one of the most interesting La Liga seasons we've seen recently. Came with a lot of expectations from our side because of the new shiny signing that we made. And I would say that Barca didn't have much expectations coming into the season, especially not knowing what Hansi Flick would deliver. All right, so the season started and it took some time for Mbappe to fit in. And we had drop points early on in the season, whereas Barca started as a house on fire and went ahead. Right? Then came the first Clásico, where we basically soiled our pants and they stamped on us in our home ground and took all 3 points. Right? And from that moment, they went ahead. I would say that Madrid never really recovered from that first El Clásico defeat, even though there was a point in the season after that Clásico where Madrid went first. I would say that psychologically, that first Clásico did a lot of damage to Madrid and their psyche, which went into the other Clásicos, which we would eventually get onto. And I would say that first Clásico really did a number on us. And I would say that it was the most important moment in the title race this season.
Yeah, definitely. The first Clásico, I would have been through it. Having some PTSD. Come on, hold up, man. The first Clásico, I am gonna be as neutral as I possibly can because I remember that game well. Bro, that first half was not fun.
Exactly.
As a Barcelona fan, that first half was not fun.
Because if you remember going into the game,
I watched that game with people. I was at a sports bar. 360.
Right.
I was at 360 Sports Bar with Madrid fans
right.
and Delhi Ranks and them man being there as well. And bro, first half we going through it like in my heart beating fast, bro.
Because if you remember going into the game, there was all this talk about Barca and the High Line.
Yes. And what will happen
with Mbappe and
with
Vinicius,
the pace of Vinicius and Mbappe versus the High Line.
Correct.
And I wonder what happening.
And it was being proven.
Bro.
Mbappe couldn't keep himself onside.
Yeah, but it's wild, bro, because with all that speed, bro, when the man say he offside, the first time, I thank God, but like by the 6th or 7th time, I have to say, boy, nah.
Come on, come tell me.
We got it, and then, second half, which I will say was a feature of the season. I think it was underrated how Hansi has been coaching the team in terms of his in-game management.
True.
There's been a lot of times during the season where the game was, undecided at the half, or there was actually down at the half, and he found solutions to, whatever was being faced, tactically speaking, in that time. But the first Clásico, it was really surprising to me, bro. The result in the end. Like, I had a hope that we would win or a feeling that, boy, it could work out, but...
The funny thing is, even after Barca went up 1 and 2, we were still having chances to, pull back the game 2-1 and then eventually 2-2. We just kept being offside. We just kept missing easy chances, and that didn't happen on the other end, whereas Lewandowski and Rafinha and Lamine were so clinical. Our so-called big-name players who had the opportunity to kill Barca on that day did not come up trumps, and that was really the story of our season. In all of the Clásicos, we were outshone by Barca's front three. Our front three were outshone by Barca's front three, and that was the difference in the end.
Yeah.
Happy? Anything at all?
I try to stay clear of the Clásicos.
I understand.
I swear there's about 5?
Four consecutive L's.
Five goals in one of them, but four
like
goals in another.
The 4 defeats, and then it just compounded into 5.
One.
4. It's crazy stuff. But anyways, midway through the season, December, I wanted to do what Sir Alex Ferguson did in, was it 2012, 2013 season, or 2011, 2012 season?
When he come out.
When he brought Paul Scholes out of retirement.
I
wanted Tony Kroos back so badly. It was crazy. Not even just to the passing range, just to settle the team, bro. Just to...
From a tempo perspective too.
Yeah, bro, like, he... Not to say that Madrid doesn't give the same, kind of guidance and thing, but I think Kroos bring this air of coolness and calm that, just take it easy, or Vinny, you need to make this shot now. I am going to make, he just had the eyes or the total outlook of how the game should go and how it should actually be played. And I just feel like, we just needed that better insight throughout the season, and we were missing him completely. Not even talking about the passing rate, because if at least Tony Cruz was there for one Clasico, bro, we ain't been losing. We ain't been losing, bro. I have no doubt about that. Like, just getting the right pass to the player. One goal going all the two goals all and riding the wave, and we good, bro. I just feel like Tony Cruz was, that air of cool, that the right aura, as the kids then will say this day, the right aura. He bring the vibes, and you just have to,
Just go with it.
cruise control.
For me, there was definitely a cruise hole in the midfield for you, and it actually reminded me of us last season in our midfield, when you could clearly see the absence of Sergio Busquets in the team. Not just in terms of, like, yeah, he's a player that's not on the field anymore, but in terms of the entire team, the entirety of the team's rhythm, the transitions from defense to midfield or midfield to attack, it just wasn't, it was like the defense talking one language, the midfield speaking a different language, and the attack, they ain't even talking at all, because, well, it was horrible up front last season for us, but you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, bro.
Like, and that just goes to show you sometimes, of course, we know the attackers get the headlines. We'll probably later and have a discussion on Balon D'or. We had one earlier about what it might be. But the engine of the team, and we're probably from a different generation by now, to remember,
We can say that.
backs to backs, midfielders
Yeah, we
and
could say
midfield
that.
generals and them kind of things. Especially in the Caribbean game, we know in Caribbean football for sure, having a solid midfield is something that is very cherished. But we see how many teams kind of suffering from a lack of that type of profile of player. Not necessarily just like to call it a CDM,
For sure.
but a solid midfielder who could dictate the play of the game, control the tempo, play deep, contribute to the attack, just help the game to be translated a little bit better.
Yeah, those players are rare these days, most definitely.
Yeah, where the Pelos gone.
Most definitely. The Pelos, the Xabi Alonsos,
With the
the
Xabi Alonsos.
Xavis, those type of players are hardly
You
around
could
these
even
days.
train like a Schweinsteiger.
For sure.
Kind of battery and
For sure. Those Michael
of-
Ballack,
type-
those
type
players
of players.
aren't around anymore. So what I would say in terms of the cruise ship hole in Madrid's midfield is that we always knew that it would have been almost impossible to replace Toni Kroos and Luka Modric. So what we should have been preparing for as Real Madrid is a succession plan. And I would say that the players who are currently there in the midfield, the young players, whether it's Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Jude Bellingham, Valverde, they're all great, young, energetic players. However, they all lack that quality that we were mentioning about where Kroos and Modric and the likes are concerned. They don't have that ability to dictate the tempo necessarily of the game. I would say that Camavinga probably comes the closest where the technical ability is concerned. But together and as a unit, they'd get outpassed basically by the likes of Vitinha from PSG and Pedri from Barca. Let's be honest.
Even more technical
correct.
quality.
Even Enzo Fernandez and the likes from Chelsea. So that's something that Xabi Alonso is definitely going to have a hard time with this season, because it would also show up when we play teams that sit in a deep block, who we have to break down
And unlock defenses.
and unlock tight defenses. So it's a challenge. We probably would have to tailor our style to fit those guys who we have and play a rock and roll direct style of play instead of trying to recreate what we used to do when we have Kroos and Modric. So it is a big hole that is in Madrid's midfield, but I guess we have to fill it maybe with a square, right? In this case, and not necessarily trying to find a circle to fit back in that same hole.
Yeah, great analysis of that for sure. And one team that doesn't seem to have these midfield issues in particular, and one team that certainly has no problem sitting back in a low block playing a completely different style of football, some people call it anti-football, is of course Atletico. And I kind of want to just show up Atletico a little bit as a Spanish football fan. A lot of people would, yes, of course, Lord Barcelona, the domestic trophies and the domestic success last season. But the team that led La Liga for most of the season was actually Atleti. Atleti was leading La Liga for a good chunk of the season. Of course, they tapered off when it really mattered. I know a lot of people would say, well, if you can't do it when it really matters, then maybe you can't do it at all. But I mean, if it's anybody to do it, it'll probably be Simeone and Atleti. and they've been making some good business in the transfer window this season. For sure, I think they're up to about 7 transfers right now.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, bringing in some interesting young talent, some different profiles of players for sure than what they've had. What are we thinking? Can we throw Atletico's hat in the ring?
Always, we have to, especially with Simeone at the helm. We have to take them as seriously as we do ourselves, right? Because they are a big player in the title race every season. So, like you stated, they already purchased a lot of players in the transfer window, as they tend to do.
Yeah.
I think it's actually underrated, the fact that Atletico spend a lot of money every season in the transfer window, and we watch them as this meager, frugal,
type of
small club. When
Yeah,
they spend
they're a big
millions,
club, they're a
they
big
spend millions. They spend millions every season, and they should be held to that standard
and they're
as
able
well.
to do that because they're consistently at the higher level. I mean, even if they don't get into the top 2 positions, most times they're finishing
Exactly.
3rd or at least 4th within the Champions League positions. They're in the Champions League almost every year.
Exactly.
They're in the Champions League going far in the competition.
Correct.
They've won the Europa League several
Multiple
times
times.
over.
Correct.
So they're a club that has access to resources. They clearly know how to run a football club. They do a lot of good business.
Exactly.
Sometimes they try things, it doesn't work out. The João Felix transfer definitely didn't work out. That was a bet that didn't work out. But hey, they are involved at that level.
Exactly.
Maybe because, of course, the two dominant teams, the 2 giants in Spain. They
For obvious
don't get
reasons.
as much credit as they should, but
Yeah.
they punch above their weight. And definitely in Europe, it's not a team that you want to play. I keep telling
Ever.
Premier League fans, Atletico Madrid is just not a team that you want to play.
Yeah.
Most
definitely.
we would know.
Most
And
definitely.
a lot of people might think, okay, you don't want to play them just because of what we knew from them in the past, the defensive or this and that. But they are a team that can hurt you.
For sure.
And we've seen that.
Yeah, I agree fully. Well, I think my hot take coming a bit too early. I think
No problem.
No,
it
anytime.
might be time for
Simeone
a new
to
man
go?
at the helm, man. Like, 2 league titles, maybe 3. If
2.
2, right? So 2 league titles in
I would say 15 years.
15 years. Some people say Klopp time at Liverpool wasn't a complete
I'm one of them.
success. And
I'm one of them.
yeah, he's won 2 league titles, maybe 2 Copa del Rey's or something
Champions
like that.
League.
But he's been to 2 Champions League finals.
And last boat.
Last boat.
I think it's about time, you just change the look of it, because I feel like sometimes he would sign players that aren't the exact fit for what he wants to pull off. Like, he's a rugged defensive type manager. Well, what was he gonna do with João Felix? That kind of style. So I think just to get out of that identity, maybe they just change the coach and see what these batch of players could do with a different manner.
In relation to that hot take, let me just reply one time. I would say that, just playing devil's advocate with the hot take, is that Atletico fans might argue that we were nothing, before Simeone, and they're willing to give him any benefit of the doubt, no matter how poorly we might think he does in the grand scheme of things. So I don't think he would ever necessarily be under pressure, like by the board or by the fans, to lose his job, and it would always come down to his decision to eventually leave, which might hurt the club in the long run.
I respect it.
Yeah.
I respect it, especially from the loyalty angle. We don't see a lot of that in football. in modern football right
He's
now.
probably the longest serving
What-
coach in
what-
Europe.
What I would say to
in
level
Europe for
it
real, and then
is that time is gonna pass. Whether you like it or not, you're gonna have to move on from him.
Exactly.
And I don't see a lot of indication of succession planning.
No.
I haven't seen any time he's been there any consistent second in command or anybody you could see who's being groomed or prepared through the club structure to take over from him eventually. So
It's all true.
and that could be a very dangerous thing to do, because for as much development as you make under this one person, again, Man U fans, I'm beating up on y'all, but y'all could relate to this. Having such a critical and integral figure to your club leaving could really leave the club sort of directionless after a period of time, and then you find yourself in this spiral trying to experiment with different things, just trying to grasp back whatever foothold that you had before. So moving on sometimes is a better thing to do. Madrid could give any club in the world great advice as to how to do that. Y'all are the club that would, get rid of managers even
And
they
even
seem to be
legends.
going in
And
the-
even
in-
legends
in-
as
in the right
players.
direction for
Players
the
who
good of the
are
club, so
considered legends. So.
maybe, let me take a trip over to somewhere that I was avoiding speaking about because they put an asterisk on what would have been an excellent season. I could have sit here and gloat hugging up my treble, but I guess that would be
Big up
the
Inter.
case to have. Serie A, one of the true title races across the 5 leagues, It went down to the wire, Napoli, Inter. I mean, you could even say Atalanta were in and around there for some time too. What do we say? What do we say to Napoli eventually having the legs to, just win out in the end?
I got always say Serie A is the most competitive league in Europe's top 5 leagues. I don't know if that counts as a hot take, but that is a take that I have and I have held for the past few years or so. Because if you check the history of Serie A and the winners, for the past 5 years, there's probably been 5 different winners, or maybe 4 at least. Because I'm sure that Inter won a title recently, Napoli won last year, AC Milan won a title in about 2022 or 23, and
Atalanta.
no, not Atalanta, but before that, Juventus was always winning. So it's the league with the most different league winners recently. So last season is no different. Napoli came into the season with little to no expectations. I mean, once Conte is your coach and he's in Italy, you're probably expected to challenge for the title. But I don't think, based on the quality of the squad, especially losing Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen, I don't think anyone expected them to go on and win the league. So them doing that, especially over a powerful Inter side that has been doing it for years under Inzaghi, I don't think anyone expected them to pull off that Scudetto title last season. So much credit to them, especially to Conte, who we could definitely put in a category as a serious manager because he has pedigree now to show that he could win with
Any team.
basically any team and limited resources. So much credit to Napoli and Conte. It's interesting to see where they would go this season because Conte also has a history of winning a league and then eventually falling out with the board and that kind of thing. So it's very interesting to see, especially with them in the Champions League now. He also has a poor history in Europe. So it will be very interesting to see. But in relation to the past season, they did a very good job. It went down to the last day of the season, I think, or the penultimate day. And they came out victorious in the end. So all kudos to them, especially Lukaku. Came in and was the spearhead, and Scott McTominay. Don't forget Scott McTominay, who was serious MVP, Man United reject to Syria MVP. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of credit to Napoli and Conte and McTominay and Lukaku and the likes because it was another very enthralling title race in Italy.
And the team that that placed second in the Serie A. Second, you guys didn't win. So I don't know what all of that was for, what it was about. But Inter placing second in the Serie A and going all the way, really and truly in Europe. Credit to them. Absolutely standing back and watching it. Amazing semi-final. Wow, final.
Funnily enough,
It's crazy stuff.
they also lost in the Italian Cup final. So they lost the Italian Cup final, they lost the Champions League final, and they lost the league on the last day of the season.
So a treble of
A failure. A treble of failure. So it was crazy, the kind of heartbreak that Inzaghi and Inter went through last year. And also, Inzaghi ended up leaving and going to Saudi Arabia. Now they have a new coach, Christian Kivu, I think. And Inter is going through this whole rebuilding phase. So they went from potentially winning a treble to now losing a treble, losing their coach, and going into a rebuilding phase. So that's how fast things can go in football.
Yeah, definitely it can move along very, very quickly. One place where things haven't really been moving quickly because they've been working on the project for a while, but it seems to have finally played off. I mean, if we take a trip from Italy, we're going over to France, and the French champions are now no longer just the French champions or the French League champions or the French Cup champions. They are, in fact, champions of Europe. So big up to PSG and their project. Whether we want to add an asterisk to it or not, given that we know that they have significant financial backing. In the end, it has been a sporting project, and it for years now, we could have told that, you know, the Champions League was the centerpiece, the missing piece for them in terms of what they wanted to achieve, and they have done it now. You know, the French giants are now the European giants, winning the Champions League for the first time. Not to claim too much, but big up Luis Enrique,
Yeah, man.
a man who's had his own personal struggles to see him back in football, back in the game he loves and winning things again. That's great. That's another trouble he has under his belt, and you know, lots of great performers all throughout the team. I mean, Vitinha is something
Underrated.
else.
Nuno Mendes,
You know, Nuno Mendes
João
is
Neves.
great. Dewey
Atrav.
seemed to have just popped up out of nowhere. Another great youngster, and of course, you know, Mr. Sunshine Snacks himself.
Yeah, this is
Big up Usman. Big up
this is
Usman
how good it
Dembele.
looks when, you know, everybody is willing to, you know, jump on board for the cause. You know, Mr. Mbappe, I'm talking to him. You need to look into the mirror, brother.
He's talking to you, Kylian. He's talking to you.
Everybody jumped on the boat. They knew what they wanted and they delivered. It wasn't about Dembele, it wasn't about Kvaratskhelia, it wasn't about Doué.
About Kola, anyone.
You know, the team was united. The coach wanted them to press. They had this routine where from kickoff they just launch the ball into the corner.
crazy
It's
stuff.
crazy
Crazy
stuff,
stuff.
man.
And it works.
And it
And
works.
it's aggressive press from the get-go, so you know with their hands to your neck, suffocating, wondering how the hell am I going to cope with this? They don't hit you one,
Yeah.
two. It's crazy stuff. So
Rock and roll
you really have
football.
to give Luis Enrique credit, and just all the stars, you know, for just being open-minded and taking, you know, the guidance on board, you know, just to be a team, and this is what it's all about. Yes, look at this. Dembele sacrifice all the stardom, all the, you know, I doubt he was even thinking about Balon d'Or in January.
True.
And Luis Enrique has brought him to be, you know, one of the first names on the sheet when it comes to the prestigious award. So teamwork makes the dream work.
Trust. And one thing I will say about this style in particular, the last time Luis Enrique won the Champions League, a lot of people say, oh, it was easy to do that.
MSN.
You had MSN, you had three of the best attackers ever combined, playing all in the prime of their careers, there or thereabout for you. I mean, anybody could have won the Champions League, but that's to me is a stupid argument,
Yeah.
considering
Easy to
he
say.
didn't win it multiple times with MSN, and he had them for
Exactly.
multiple seasons in the Champions League.
Easy to say.
What I will say is that type of brand of high pressing, it still has the passing in it, but that high press, high intensity, high energy, more attacking minded side of it. I call it like it's a rock and roll football, you know. I used to get caught in the trap of thinking that this is the style because MSN are that good. But now I'm seeing that that's just the structure of his team, because if you really look at it, Rakitic was doing a lot of the same things that some of the PSG midfielders are doing now, playing some of the same roles. Iniesta, I mean, it's Andres Iniesta.
Yeah, yeah.
So the things that he does, you probably think, okay, it's just because it's Iniesta.
And
But the
Vitinha
structure
doing
around it, Vitinha,
similar stuff.
I'm glad you're seeing where I'm coming from. If you look at the wing play, in terms of that link up between the wingers and the midfielders, that is evidence there as well, and it's all centered around creating as many chances
And a lot
scoring.
of unselfishness, like the amount of goals. And I'm not gonna say I've been watching them for the entire season, but just for the small window that I've been watching them, and the amount of tap-ins I've seen, it's crazy. You know, like Doué had a chance to just spunk it in the net, and he decided to, you know, square it across the Hakimi or square it across. You know, so that tells the kind of relationship the guys have, and just the
Structure is
kind
there.
of eye they have for the game.
And one of the players that goes under the radar, whose name wasn't mentioned at all in this entire PSG conversation, who I have a lot of time for, is Fabian Ruiz. It's a very important cog in the Spanish midfield as well. So I don't think that he gets the flaws that he deserves as a midfield player. You would always hear persons talk about Vitinha and João Neves, but he's also very, very crucial cog in Paris's midfield as well as Spain's midfield. So I think he's basically Luis Enrique's coach on the field, right? And a crucial part of the team.
All right, great. Well, that's our review of the top 5 leagues there. Let's get into some summer transfer talk. But it won't be a lot, because right now we are starting to see that that difference in the wallet, that difference in the coin post stated. Listen to this. Premier League clubs across the board have spent more than $1.5 billion so far this transfer market.
Wow.
Chelsea have invested, of course, we know, a lot in signings, but also now making a lot in return
sales.
in terms of sales. So perhaps that whole notion that, okay, Chelsea is trying to buy everybody, I mean, their strategy is clearly working. Who do we think are the big winners in the Premier League in terms of signings right now? Who might be the best? We have João.
Hot take.
Hot take.
Sunderland.
Run it. Sunderland.
Granit Xhaka. Just remember I say so.
Xhaka from
Granit Xhaka.
Alright. Xhaka is the best signing. Alright. How about Victor?
Victor Gyökeres, we spoke about him off camera, and I think that he's definitely a piece that Arsenal will miss him because Kai Havertz can't make it as the
I watched the comp video them. He just give me Suarez vibes.
Suarez.
He give me Suarez vibes. He
I can't say that I've seen, full 90 minutes of him,
Just
consistently.
Everybody looks great
Right?
in a comp.
But I would say that Arsenal needed a striker because they couldn't continue with Kai Havertz being their main number 9. So Gyökeres and his history in the sporting team and the Portuguese league and his numbers would definitely suggest that he'd be a good signing for Arsenal.
What about Florian?
Florian Wirtz will take Liverpool to the moon, my boy. It's like, I believe that he would be involved in so many things. Like, he would be creating, he would be scoring. I feel like he would have this free number 10 role to, get in between the channels of the centre back and the full backs, as well as just pull them out, because they would have to get close to him because of how dangerous he is with the ball at his feet to, snake around defenders and, just dribble past them. So Florian Wirtz will be very dangerous, and I think he would be really involved in everything that Liverpool does.
One thing on Votes, I think that his transfer fee might create some unrealistic expectations of him.
100, eh?
Over 100, I think is a British transfer record. I think it's a British transfer record. If
Like
it's not, it's close.
110, 150,
Probably
something.
£120, right? So I think his fee might create some unrealistic expectations of the kind of player that he is. I'm not necessarily...
Jack Grealish type of situation.
Maybe not, but I'm not expecting him to blow the waters out in terms of getting 20 goals and 20 assists because Liverpool is still going to depend on Salah for most of the output, right? So I expect Votes to be a very good player, but not necessarily be a $120 million player.
You have to say from a branding standpoint or a stylistic standpoint, he's a Liverpool player, boy.
Most definitely. Very humble, very technical.
He just seemed like a,
he seemed like he fits.
a good fit.
Yeah.
He seemed like he fits. And
He
he's...
he doesn't seem to have a-
It feels like a
no
good fit.
ego
I
or
have a
anything,
hot
just-
take related to that a little bit later. All right. So, not a lot of other movements taking place outside of, things that were confirmed from a lot earlier up in the season. A lot of the movements we kind of knew would happen. We knew Trent was on his way to Madrid. It seems the only people that didn't know that was Liverpool fans. Everybody kind of knew where Trent was headed. We saw some surprise moves. I think in the end, Rashford coming to Barcelona, actually getting his issue. When I first heard that in January, I was like, this is probably one of those passing rumors. Like, hey, no way. And he's already played in preseason for us, giving an assist. So crazy times right now. Let me just, for time's sake, run through a couple of the rumors. Well, I'll just pull out the biggest rumor right now. Harry Kane might be eyeing a return to the Premier League. Manchester United are said to be interested. Who wouldn't be? Man U. Yeah, probably interested along with everybody else. But he still has a buyback clause with Tottenham. I mean, Harry Kane left. Tottenham won a trophy. He won a trophy. Maybe it's time for
If you plan on going anywhere, my boy, and you want to wear white, see where they be in Shabba. Let Mbappe go up on the right wing, my boy. You just come and put on the 9 if you don't leave it.
Right.
We win the World Cup. You see, he don't leave the 9 for you, brother. If you're looking to leave Bayern, we have a humble home for you, right, my boy. Just...
I don't think that Harry Kane that's probably just a rumor as it is. I don't think he'd leave Bayern for United. I think the most prevalent rumor out there right now is Isak being linked to Liverpool, and I'll just speak on that quickly. No, this is the kind of greed. There's a saying that goes, this is the kind of greed that they speak about in the Bible. Because Liverpool have already splashed the cash and Hugo Ekitike close to 100 million again. and they're still interested in Isak. For what reason, I'm not sure. One thing I must say though, and RIP to Diogo Jota, right? They did lose a significant player in their squad, right? So it is a spot that they have to fill. So in that aspect, and just filling out forward slots, I would understand the need for Isak. But in terms of a tactical fit, I'm not certain how it's going to work based on how Liverpool played last year, and especially with the addition of Votes, because they already got Ekitike, Salah has to play on the right. Votes is a number 10. Gakpo usually plays on the left. Then there's still Szoboszlai, there's still guys like Curtis Jones and the likes. So
you just want many boys.
So that rumor with Isak being linked to Liverpool, it's also strong rumors because Isak has also stopped training with Newcastle and that kind of thing, basically gone AWOL. It seems as though it's destined to happen, but tactically I don't see it.
So I counting Darwin as out of the door as well. So Darwin, Diaz, and RIP Jota. So that's 3. And we're replacing them with Watts, Ekitike, and Isak. I fully understand where you get with the whole tactical setup. I believe that at some point in the season we're going to see Watts flanking left. Isak and Salah. And then we'll just have the midfield trio from the last season. I feel like at some point we're going to see Watts on the left-hand side.
True.
I think Ekitike coming in, it's almost like for like with Darwin. When you check out Ekitike conversion rate, very graceful on the ball, real nice dribbling and so forth. But in terms of the conversion rate, he ain't the best of them. Scored beautiful goals last season and so, but he could take it up a notch in terms of finishing the ball. I just feel like he is there as a very expensive backup to Isak, and also they just played like a real petty game in Newcastle as they wanted Isak. This basically, like go for Ekitike, we'll take Isak. They're like, no, we want both of them. Okay, well, Liverpool saying you ain't getting none, we'll take 2 of them.
True. I also think it's a succession plan for Salah as well because he isn't getting any younger, and they'll eventually have to get younger players, to facilitate for him in the attack.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I think Isak would be a good signing for them on paper, like, squad wise, but just tactically I have the questions.
Fair.
All right. Well, we had some great discussions, about the season just passed in the top 5 leagues. We're talking football right now. We talk about the summer transfer window. We already start making some permutations about how the next season might go. Let me get into some hot takes. Liverpool back-to-back. Who says no?
Don't think that would be a hot take. I think that Liverpool would be favourites right now. A hot take might be to say
United in the top 4.
Yeah, also, or something like that. That's a hot take. That's a hot take. That's what we call a hot take.
I believe United
top 4.
Dark horses, at least least
very dark.
From 16th, if I have it correctly. 17, 18, 19, 20. Right. From 16 to 5th. Yeah, I mean, watching the few preseason games thus far, they really look good. They really look good. Especially with Rasmus Højlund. He started to feel himself a little bit more. I believe Bruno would have some help now with creating, and I hope that he would have an open mind to know that he doesn't have to play every single ball up the field or try to create something himself. He has help. Like last season, didn't have that creative help. So, yeah, I believe Man United would finish 5th.
And also, they only playing 1 game a week, no Europe. Correct. So they could
Europe,
focus on Premier League.
Something good. Hot take. Arsenal trophyless again.
I don't even think that is as cool as them.
Cool?
Yeah, I don't think Arsenal is necessarily expected to win the Premier League or the Champions League. Maybe the FA Cup or something like that.
But we have to say if they go trophyless again, the Arteta project is over.
It should
be. If you want to say a hot take, then
if by now winning a major trophy is not your intention, then what are we doing? By one of the hottest young striking prospects in world football, and strikers ain't easy to come by, quality strikers.
And that's all we
by the piece that was always missing from the midfield again. You have Zubimendi. What's stopping you?
No, I understand, and I agree.
What's stopping you? Why are you not competing at the highest level? Why is winning trophies not part of your team's agenda? And why is it that, for some of my Arsenal fans out there, why is it that y'all tend to run from that pressure when we talk about your club winning trophies? That's what's supposed to happen.
True.
If you're gonna be at that top level, that's what we're talking about. That's what we're here for. I mean, we enjoy the game for a lot of other things, but that's
what qualifies you.
That's what we're here for. That's what qualifies you. So why we just every year we good with being contestants?
I guess because they had the fourth place culture going for so long. Like
Fireburner participation.
That was the
expectation.
That was the ceiling.
For the mid 2010s coming up there for sure.
Can't stay in one
so
place.
now that you're achieving a little bit more now, it's like you're a little satisfied. You want more, yes or no, but it's almost as if you kind of.
Let me turn around. This is when my club was playing.
Not too long ago.
You see
I
how
don't
this
even know
shot?
what a trophy looks like.
Right? No, watch it. This is a Barcelona shot. This shot by any Camp Nou.
This is crazy.
This is a Camp Nou shot.
With a Europa League catch. That's crazy.
You think we were happy here?
Well,
You think we wanted
the
to stay
standards,
there?
the standards different for Arsenal for sure.
So y'all gotta know.
For sure.
Daniel, big up yourself, but right.
My hot take, or one of my hot takes,
Frank, big up yourself, but right.
Take it easy, Frank. Not fair this year.
and these hot takes would just come randomly, but my hot take is that one or both of the young Brazilian attackers at Madrid will no longer be there at the start of next season. So whether it is that Vini leaves this season and Rodrigo leaves next, I think that by next season, one or both would no longer be at the club.
Both?
Perez,
One
I
or
just
both.
want a 9.
So that's my hot
I
take.
see Alan give Mbappe the 10, so
Perez, I just want a 9.
Alan?
I just want.
If possible,
If Jose Lugo come back, me boy. It will also give you some balance up there. Just
Hot take. I could be biased.
Sure.
Balon d'Or season.
Okay, cool. Well, I think Lamine has to score 25 goals, 20 to 25 goals a season in order to get that.
Overall.
Not even in La Liga, just overall in total.
If all goes
He
well,
done pass. Well, no, he didn't pass. But he had 25 assists.
Right, so that's why I
So
didn't include the assists, because I know he's a creative force.
Panda level, but
Yeah,
more
so
goals.
if all goes well for club and country, seeing that it's a World Cup here as well.
Funny enough,
Right.
I was just about to say one of the reasons I say that is not necessarily just because
Barca.
coming season with Barcelona, because it's
It's
a World Cup here.
yeah.
I do think
He definitely would be the
if he stays
protagonist.
fit, bro.
If Spain wins, he will be the protagonist.
And this is what I kind of upset about with it. There's this detraction from his age where a lot of people, we get it. He's a teenager. No, you don't. You do not, my brother.
It's actually crazy.
This boy was born in a year where I could remember what I was doing in that year. And I ain't no old head like that.
Exactly.
I might be shifting into my unk era. I consider myself a big bro. Right? This is a youth, man. My nephew older than he.
I'm telling you.
This is a youth, as in a social media scrolling, TikTok watching, have fun, carefree youth, man. Who's shelling the place? Are you crazy? Are you sick in your head?
Yeah. It's
You
crazy.
have a
it's
sick in
crazy.
your head if you think we seen that before. My father, them generation used to talk about Pele in this 1954 or whenever he was in the World Cup as a teenager, and they talking about how crazy it was to see a young black youth man being represented on that level. Bro, we have never seen
Nothing.
anything like this in football, and it's a real injustice to the sport if you can't see beyond team colors and country and wherever, and you're not recognizing that,
I have a hot take / question in relation to Yamal as well that somewhat ties in, seeing that you say that, and it's also very possible that it could be a Balon d'Or season for him, right? So my hot take question / statement is, where do we think, or how much better do we think that he could get? Do we think that this is his plateau? right? Because we've seen other young players come through and maybe not to his extent, obviously, but we've seen other young players come through and been stars in a young age, Ansu Fati, for example, and the likes, right? And maybe as they've gotten older, whether it be injury or whatever other factor, didn't necessarily live up to their fullest potential. How far or what is Lamine Yamal's full potential? Is this it? How much better can he get?
I think how much better he gets will not be measured by the talent itself. I think it will actually be measured by the consistency that he could display.
Of course.
That talent. Messi and Ronaldo have changed football permanently, completely. Both in terms of the way that we think about the game, but also the way that we analyze and approach the game. It used to be that if you were talented and if you could show it, then you were just a great baller. You understand? A lot of the legends of the game, when you analyze, I mean, I don't want to break it down to just stats, but when you go and you look at their numbers, what you really find out is that they had a great 2-3 seasons in their career. Very few of the top legends and the top players have careers that are as decorated for as long.
Ronaldinho is a perfect example of what you just stated.
Perfect
Ronaldinho.
example. You can't tell me nothing about Ronaldinho. I had a Ronaldinho shot. That is my goal. You understand? But in the context of all things, Ronaldinho had a great
2-3
2-3
peak.
years in Europe, and by modern day standards, probably wouldn't have been considered as one of the top
most
people
definitely.
and by these ridiculous standards
Most
that we have
definitely.
now. So I don't think, well, for me, based on what I watch in the eye test on the ball and thing, I think he's as great as he could be.
I agree.
Any greater than that, I don't know
agree.
what he's gonna do.
Yeah,
Probably
I
start walk some over upon the
The
field.
only
or
thing that he
something
could
about
improve in
Patrick
is
Vieira
just being more clinical with the finishing.
finishing.
However, I don't think that's his game. His game is being creative and playing with flair and being carefree. I don't think he's ever gonna become a clinical finisher. But if he gets 15, 20 goals a season,
me,
that's raising his level
He
still.
has exactly the season he just had, and I mean exactly, for the rest of his career. I mean, I know he didn't win the Champions League this season.
Just
Obviously,
individually.
Just individually. If he could have a season like that for another 10 years, given his age, we're looking at a legendary player.
For sure.
Yeah, when you
Anytime past that, then is top, at the very top.
True.
You're talking like not just amongst the legends, but in the conversation of the greatest players. But there's a far way off, and there's a lot of consistency, a lot of work still to be put in.
Yes, it's just crazy to see how consistently he successfully beats his man. Like
It is.
the numbers crazy in comparison to like other top
The
winners in the
second,
world.
whoever
It's
is
crazy
second.
stuff.
The Champions League dribbles for the season.
Take-ons and successful.
the
Yeah,
Champions
so
League dribbles for the season.
And the dribble style is almost like you walking like so
disrespectful.
natural,
It's
you know?
disrespectful.
Graceful with it, just like dancing across the floor, bro, and reactive. Not like I have something planned and I'm going to hit you.
There's no
with punch.
telling.
No.
There's no telling what he's gonna hit you
What
with.
you do, I would react to, and then I would beat you. So it's real crazy
True.
how good he is as a young person. Like I don't think we've seen a player so young be so decisive and like just a creative monster. Like Messi grew into that. He took him a couple seasons and all that. And then but it's like this guy hit the ground running, almost like Ansu Fati, but Ansu got injured and so forth. So it's just barring injury, this. You could have three Balon D'ors barring injury.
I agree. And relating it to the same hot take / question that I mentioned originally, I do think that this is probably the best that he could be. But he could be like this consistently for the next 10, 15 years, as you say. However, what I was going to ask is, where does he rank? Like, because we already mentioned that Salah had this great season, right? And we also know how great Saka is, right? We know the position he plays is on the right wing. So I just wanted his current standing in world football.
Right
Who
wing.
do you think he's a level above Salah? Because Salah is probably who I would say is the top tier right winger in the world. But how far if he's not ahead of Salah for you?
Yeah, he really just had to put the ball in the back of the net, honestly speaking. I mean, because Salah doing both, like when you check the
Yeah, he almost had a 2020 season in the league.
I would compare him to somebody not in the same position but on the same team, in that eye test wise, a lot of people might say, well, boy,
Rafinha
is the most talented player on the team and one of the most important players based on what he's done and dribbles, and we get excited by these aspects, and why shouldn't we? It's skill, it's talent. But if you look at Rafinha's season, in terms of how clinical he was, how important those goals are, I think that is still objectively a much
So to answer
better
Shawa's
season
question,
and a much better candidate for a Balon d'Or
I'm glad you
conversation.
made that point. Well,
I mean,
I'll address it.
Rafinha's position is right wing. We know that, but they don't know Lamine. So.
Yeah, Lamine, they know what you're gonna do.
But the season in totality, with everything he's done, and I'll go to the previous year before, after. I think Rafinha was the standout Balon d'Or candidate from Barcelona.
definitely.
That was actually the point I was going to make.
Definitely,
How
Rafinha was our best
Fantastic
player in the
two-way
season.
player, like the determination, the grit,
Best
everything.
player.
Like
that's,
he looked like
that's
he
the
was
exact
dying.
point I was gonna ask. Like, how did we get to the point where we pushing, or where it would mostly be Barca fans, obviously, pushing for Lamine to get the Balon d'Or over Rafinha, because Rafinha was there with the crucial moments in terms of goals and assists. That's 50 goals and assists season. That's crazy. So I asking a Barca fan, how did it get to the point where we're pushing, or where you guys were more
I
pushing?
guess it's because of what the Balon d'Or has become. It's a popularity contest in a lot of ways. So it comes down to which player is most marketable, which player has the most media hype, which player might be able to garner the most interest. And a 17-year-old doing what he was doing
as much as
is much more marketable, I guess, to people who are looking for that type of support. That's what it is.
as much as Rafinha been putting the ball in the net more and so forth, I just feel like
Lamine is more marketable.
yeah, we
For
people would come and pay the money to see Lamine
Over
Rafinha, because
Even
you
though
come in
Rafinha
for
was
the
the one.
oohs and the ahs. So, I mean, Rafinha giving you the oohs
Yeah.
and the ahs, but Lamine would give you more.
And I agree with this,
brother?
but this goes back to Sario. This goes with Rodri and Vinicius last year. Because if you're saying that you would pay your money to go and see Lamine over Rafinha, you should be paying your money to go see Vinny over Rodri.
So remember when I said I was coming back to this? This is a similar situation with the Rodri, because me, if you ask me previously, and I know you see me on Twitter like saying Balon d'Or, because if you ask me, Jude getting the Balon d'Or, bro.
True.
Because
It also goes back to why were we pushing Vinny?
Why were y'all pushing Vinny, considering
And I could answer.
Jude was the one that
Vinny did
that had the
a
better
lot
season.
more at the tail end of the season,
Yeah.
but he was almost absent all year.
Yeah. Whereas Jude carried the team in the first half of the season.
Like for half of the season, this was all you were
For sure.
seeing, bro.
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't win.
There's a
We
parallel
wouldn't
with what
win
was happening with
the
us.
league and the Champions League with like Jude two-way, completely
Yeah.
two-way, bro.
There are times-
like Jude have 5 battery out there, bro,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
3 heart and 20 lungs,
Yeah,
bro.
like
It's
and plus Valverde with him.
There
Who
are
are more than
times-
that?
There are times when Jude was put in the team and he back
facts.
with his goals and his contributions, but still doing his main role as a midfielder and all them things. And it's like I said, it's a marketability thing. I guess they figured, Vinny Jr., Brazilian, attacker, winger, CR7, number 7.
The recoveries and interceptions and
Those things-
chances
those
created,
things aren't
everything
pretty.
going on the resume.
Yeah,
Them,
those things aren't
people
pretty.
only seeing goals,
Yeah,
assists.
people only seeing the goals. Man, we've been having some great discussions. This is all about global sports from a Caribbean perspective. Caribbean people talking sports, talking our favorite sports, favorite teams, favorite places from all around the world. This week is our first episode and we've been focusing on football, talking mainly about football in the top 5 European leagues all around the world. Right now in this segment, though, we want to get into some other sports, and it would be remiss of me to not acknowledge that we're recording this episode on Emancipation Day. And right now, we have to just slip into some different discussions on some other sports. Right here in Saint Vincent, we are celebrating emancipation by having an Emancipation Cricket Festival. Right now, we have 4 different teams that have been, put together with local players and some foreign-based players, some international players as well, and they are competing. Gentlemen, what do you think is the current state of cricket on a local, regional level We know that right now the West Indies, as you know, our combined team is experiencing some of the usual rocky patches, some of the usual challenges that we face. What do we think is happening in that world?
Okay. Cricket is a very broad topic, and you ask a very, a topic that could go on for long, right? I would narrow it down by saying cricket in the region has been deteriorating for a long time, right? Not just tailored to West Indies cricket, but just cricket in the region in general. So, despite us having this Emancipation Cricket League festival thing that's happening, it 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 doesn't seem to have the emphasis on cricket as it should. It's the purpose or emphasis on that tournament lies elsewhere, and we all know why, right? So that all ties into the point I was making that the cricket in the region has been deteriorating for a long while, where the persons in charge seem to have their focus everywhere else except the betterment of the sport itself. So this would all tie up and lead West Indies to be out down for 27 on the biggest stage. All of those things would tie into that, right? The president of Cricket West Indies is Vincent, Mr. Shallow, and he's been there for some time, and he would have had some sort, of part to play with the selections and that kind of thing, which would then lead to what we're seeing on the field. So everyone has a part to play. I'm not gonna just single out someone and say that they're the main reason. There's a long list of factors that are contributing to the deteriorating of not just West Indies cricket, but cricket in the Caribbean on a whole.
And we are seeing this. We'll stay on the cricket point, but we're seeing this in a lot of different sports on a regional level. I mean, in terms of issues with either the governing bodies, issues with the local bodies, the grassroots tournaments are certainly missing across a host of different sporting areas. What type of injection, what sort of intervention is necessary for us to get not just cricket, but sports in the region, sports locally, back on the up? I mean, I feel like a lot of times across a lot of sporting areas, we find ourselves talking about the glory days, a lot talking about the past, talking about great athletes that were, but we still have a lot of talent, we still have a lot of great athletes in the respective sporting disciplines. How do we start to chart that course forward? Let's move into this new age. We can't just maintain this stance of looking at sports from the, as we said, global sports from a Caribbean perspective, but we don't want to just be on the outside looking in. We very much want to be, participating in global sports and making our contribution from this local platform, from the regional platform to the international one. How do we get there?
It's quite tough, to be honest, especially where cricket is concerned. The days of passing on the road and seeing a high run crate on both ends and two people with a coconut bat, jamming cricket on the street, those are long gone with the advent of technology and, social media. So I think that affected, where we are today. Like, the love for the game on a whole just isn't there anymore. And then there is the whole T20 fiasco. Like, T20, since T20 has been introduced, it seems like, that's the bag,
Yeah.
All my
Definitely
focus,
the entertainment.
all my focus is on, getting the ball out of the park instead of, focusing on, building the around the fundamentals, just a solid
The skill of
platform.
it, the craft of it.
Correct. And in order to be a proper batsman, a proper bowler and so forth. For instance, I always say, I hardly watch T20, to be honest. I test match and I quicker sit down, watch test match, because test match is a greater exhibition of skills. Whether it's bowling, batting, fielding, it's crazy that it has so much science, behind how...
Behind a test.
Behind a test match, bro, from the pitch to the cloud in the sky, it's crazy
Everything.
stuff, bro. So it has
Facts.
so many factors that just affect the whole game of cricket. And it just be so great to see that people could maneuver, manipulate, and just deal with those different factors. So I just feel like the love for test cricket gone, and it has to be some sort of way that you could get the love for that, and from that, then I think the cricket.
Let me interject right
No
there.
problem.
In relation to the point you made about T20 cricket versus Test cricket. That's one of the biggest downfalls of West Indies cricket over the last 10 to 15 years as well. This change of mentality and mindset where our batsmen don't go and look to stay in the crease, whereas they would just look to come and swing, right? Anybody could take up a bat, go in the gym, lift some weights, and then go out there and swing. It takes a lot of skill to be in the crease and bat 50 balls for only 2 runs. It takes a lot more skill to do that than to go in and hit 3 consecutive sixes.
Correct.
For sure.
Correct.
So I would say that the T20 mentality across the Caribbean has definitely changed the way we play cricket, and that is a major contributing factor to the downfall of West Indies cricket and cricket across the region. I would say that Test cricket is still at a very high level. If you look at the current India versus England series that's ongoing, you would see some high level cricket.
Every single test has gone to the 5th day.
Every single test has gone to the 5th day, and there's a credit to both teams, the conditions, the pitch, everything.
If you watch us, I think test is a 3 day.
You know what I'm saying? I can't tell the last time I've seen a West Indies test go to 5 days.
Probably
Probably when we played
Pakistan.
Bangladesh and the likes.
We just joke and say that man was the last day for party.
So that's my point. That's my point. We don't take guarding our wicket as seriously as we should because of how cheap a wicket is in T20 cricket. Whereas you lose a wicket in Test cricket, that's very detrimental to your team. So the whole shift in mentality where we want to go in and just swing compared to just guarding our wicket and preserving our spot at the crease has definitely changed the mentality. And it all goes back to where Dappy stated that you wouldn't see someone on the street playing cricket with a coconut bat and that kind of thing because the love for the game is just no longer there. And those who do pick it up adapt that same T20 mentality and not look to build themselves into being a test player.
One thing to add, when Craig Brathwaite recently made his 100th test appearance and
In the Australia series.
he said that was actually his dream, his goal. Like when he started or when he was younger, he said he don't want to just play a test match for West Indies. He wants to play 100 test matches. And it would be interesting to hear or even to see if,
Any young player thinks
any
like that.
young player, still has that kind of goal or, just that outlook on test cricket. I want to play 100 tests or I just want to score 100 for West Indies in test match cricket, that kind of vibe, So I feel like, I don't know, I'm hoping that Craig Brathwaite is not the last of them, but, we need that kind of love for the game,
Shout out to Jaden Seals who has broken through on the scene as a young fast bowler and has only played in Test cricket so far, not necessarily looked to expand his horizons past that, and he's been excelling in Test. So I hope other young cricketers could use Jaden Seals. As an example.
More on the local scene, recently we had concluded the SVG Athletics Association Athletics Championship, returning after a little hiatus, and we were supposed to have it last year. So
Beryl.
Yeah, Beryl. We had Hurricane Beryl last year around that time, and we currently have the Windward Island School Games taking place. Any developments from the local scenes? I knew we saw, particularly in the Athletics Championship, because I performed at that event. I saw a lot of our foreign-based athletes coming home and competing again. I saw Makish winning the 100 meters. I saw people like Brandon coming back and
it was really cool to see Brandon back on the scene again.
Given that I remember Brandon being our Olympian in 2016 in Rio. Given that we now have other Olympians in Shafiqa Maloney, we have a few swimmers in there as well. We have Shane went in there. We have I think Nicholas Sylvester went to the Olympics as well, and we also have his name is slipping me right now, 400 meter runner.
Is it Handel or one?
There we go. Big up to Handel as well. The type of representation that we're seeing now in athletics, we're also seeing it in football. We start. It's like we're creeping. We're starting to see more and more Vincentians touching.
Going to schools and universities.
Further fields. They're going to schools. They're going to universities. They're involving themselves in so many different sporting programs. How do we increase that number? I know a lot of us might have had dreams, growing up to, become a particular a particular play in a certain field, how do we, as young men who have walked that course, how do we contribute to seeing that develop? What is our vision moving forward for Vincentians in athletics and in sports all around the world?
Okay, so I would say in terms of that, that's a very important topic basically, because this all ties back to the cricket thing. We have to put things in place where persons like who go into school and like from a primary school age, put them in a place where there are opportunities for them to play sports basically, not just PE and games time, right? Structured environments where these guys could get proper training and access to serious gym facilities and that kind of thing from a young age, so that their bodies can grow naturally as it should. Because, for example, when you see the under 17s from other countries, for example, versus our under 17s,
Levels,
you know what I'm saying? It's chalk and cheese, and that's due to them not getting access to the facilities that they need to build them up physically to compete on a regional and international level. So one thing that is needed, not just in Saint Vincent, because I could only speak for Saint Vincent, but what is probably needed across the region as well is more grassroots programs, more kiddies cricket type thing, more Ian Sardines basically,
yes.
more Ian Sardines.
I noticed
basically
we have a lot of the athletics academies though, like big up the Morseys and the Ozaris and the Chester Morgans and so those guys are playing an integral role in building the next generation, and they're starting from a very let me not say like grassroots age, but at least they are.
I know a few grassroots programs for sure.
I know Ozaria is
he does his thing as well.
Right,
That's
so really young youths, and
some young children, some young as well.
Right,
like 7-year-olds, 9-year-olds,
right.
11-year-olds.
I remember telling him sometimes I was waiting on the sweat to start when we used to kick Victoria Park that these kids are the ones that would like take us over the top, because they are training for. So once they stick with it and they get the right guidance and training, then they will be able to take us over.
We have the elements in it, because for proof of concept, I spent some time studying in Jamaica, and even though I was not at the time, I was focused more on academics, so I wasn't so much going into sport and that. Just being in that environment could let you know how serious the country on a whole took sports and sporting in general. I mean, I met so many student athletes, I met so many people who had been doing what they're doing for all their life. I met people who were 17, 18 years old and playing football or doing track or doing field events or something was all they had been doing up to that particular point. I mean, this is a broad discussion, it's not just one area. I think it requires a lot more than just that. It takes governments, it takes all the different stakeholders coming together, the coaches, the parents, the groups, the organizations, the corporate entities involved to make sure that the sponsorship is there.
Facts.
It's a holistic thing, but we can do it. The proof of concept is there. Listen, we have the talent, and that is a long part of the battle.
Yeah, the most important thing.
We have the environment. And if we don't have the environment, we can create the environment. You understand? Because it's something special about growing up here in the Caribbean. Nice fresh air, and these different things, whole foods, organic foods that are available to you. So there must be some sort of structure that we can put in place to create these pathways for people to express their talent on the global stage. Because look at what it means. Look how much impact Shafika was able to make. Look how much impact Handel was able to make. Look how much impact those that went before them were able to make. We can't want to celebrate, these moments of national pride and Caribbean pride when our athletes perform well on the international stage, and we're happy to drop the Vinci flag emoji in the comments, and we're happy to share it, and so on, and we're happy to take the photo up next to them and be like, hey, this is me with the latest prodigy in whatever area, but we need to do the things to support them while they're in that journey of development. That is critical. That is really important. Really, really important to the development of sports in the Caribbean if we really want to make, to have that impact on the international stage.
For sure. Those in charge will do better.
And give people the flowers.
All right, well, we've had some great discussions today looking at global sports from a Caribbean perspective. Today we focus mainly on football, looking at European football and across the top 5 major European leagues. And all in all, we've had some fruitful discussions. This has been an episode of Global Sports from a Caribbean perspective. And listen, if you're like us, you grew up watching sports, following sports, loving sports. You have your favorite team, you have your favorite club, you have your favorite player. So we want everybody to join in. Make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and let's get this thing moving. Thank you for being here with us, starting this journey with us, and we're taking this thing as far as possible. One GSCP.